this morning. Well, yesterday late afternoon, one of our buses just kind of quit on the road. We had to drive out there and take them a spare bus and transfer kids to all that little show right there. And this unit didn't want to crank over. Well, it cranked over, it didn't want to start. We couldn't spend that much time. It was on the way. It was in the way. It was on the highway, so we had to call a wrecker service and have it towed back into the shop. I kind of looked at it yesterday, kind of checked it out real quick, and it was an easy find. I mean, I stumbled onto a bad wiring harness, IPR valve. The harness itself was, I mean, actually it melted onto the IPR valve. So in this case, we're gonna have to replace that RPR valve, and we're gonna have to replace that harness. I don't like using pigtails. I don't like using tying it into the old harness. I would much rather just do the harness itself. We're gonna go ahead and replace the harness. We already got the part in stock, so I'm gonna go ahead and start tearing that harness off, and I'm gonna replace it with a new harness, and of course replace the RPR valve on this one. Alright guys? Well guys, that's the new harness. Went ahead and pulled it out of the box and have it laying on the bumper, and of course we got the new IPR valve right here. The guys went ahead and removed the old IPR, so I couldn't show you that, but we do have a new one, and I'll go ahead and thread this into the pump, and of course get on with replacing that harness. So let me go ahead and get this done real quick. Well guys, this is where I start. Basically remove this pigtail, map come off, the EGR valve comes out from up here, and basically pull these cables off there, and it goes back there to the oil fuel filter. It gives you the water and fuel pressure. And I don't know if you can see this, but these used to be the IPR connector. After we get those, we got to come down here and get to the ECM connectors, and we have to follow it up over the engine, and it goes to the exhaust back pressure, the VGT on the turbo, the cam sensor, so on and so forth. So let me go ahead and get to pulling all that wiring harness out. Okay guys, on this particular unit I got to remove that engine cover, what we call a doghouse, because the harness actually comes through the back of the engine, and the connector goes all the way down to the crank position sensor. So this has to come off for one simple connector and a ground wire, but we still have to do it guys. So let me go ahead and remove this real quick, and I'll show you the connector and the ground strap on there, and then we'll go back to the front and continue with removing the harness. Sorry again for the video quality, dude. These harnesses are not exposed, they're pretty much hidden, but I hope you guys get the idea of what we're doing. Let me go ahead and get this done. Guys, all that work just for this little connector right here. Alright, this one right here. Well guys, I'm going to remove a couple of connectors from the other side. I'm not going to record that, but I'll go ahead and record when I put the new harness on. I'll go ahead and keep the camera close so that you can see where all the connectors go to and how we actually fish them through the looms and stuff like that. So let me just get this wiring harness out of here and I'll show you more in detail how we put it together. Bye guys. Well guys, there's the old harness right there. It's going to get replaced. With that new harness right there. Let me see how close I can get to this one and see if I can get close-ups of all the connectors and how we route this cabling and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and get to recording this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and run these connectors through that harness in there. These are the ones that go to the VGT, cam sensor, temperature sensor. So I got to run these through that loop, get it out over and around that engine and just kind of toss it that way. And I'll go ahead and get to the connectors at the ECM and these sensors, and I'll go ahead and get these to the end, because on the other side we have aftermarket ACs and there's a bracket that kind of gets in our way. So I'm going to go ahead and point that one out to you guys. But let me go ahead and get these real quick. I'm going to do this in a faster pace, that way I don't have to kill a whole bunch of time. Alright guys, let me get to this one. Okay, guys, this is the area that we have to kind of fish this through. The area that gives us problems is right here. This bracket is laying against this little water outlet, and the wire has to squeeze between these two to be able to bolt onto the block and keep the wires from hitting the pulley. So let me go ahead and kind of run that wire through and I'll show you in a bit. That was the wrong one. That's a little wire that this bracket is kind of pinching. Now, there we go. There's no way of pulling the wire out if you don't actually loosen the bracket, pull it out away from the engine, just to be able to squeeze this little wiring harness and brackets through. So the rest is just basically run it to the camshaft, the cam position sensor, the temperature sensor, and then bolt up those two flanges to the block to keep the wires from getting caught up on the pulleys or the belt. So that's gonna take care of the actual running the harness. So let me get to that real quick.